Hello everyone, let's do a story problem with an ellipse. Thanks for joining me for this. So a one-way road passes under an overpass in the shape of half an ellipse, 15 feet high at the center and 20 feet wide. Assuming a truck is 12 feet wide, very wide truck, what is the tallest truck that can pass under the overpass? So what we're basically going to do is we're going to try and drive a truck through the middle, and of course it's going to stick out on both sides. And we just want to know how tall it can be right here, so it can just barely scrape through. So we're actually just going to try and find the height of the tunnel right there. So when we think about this ellipse, it's a little bit tricky because we're only looking at half the ellipse, and the other half doesn't even really come into play. It's down here. But we can still write the equation for the ellipse. So this is a tall, skinny, or Bert ellipse, so we're going to have the bigger number underneath the y squared, but that will just kind of play itself out anyway. But that's what the equation of an ellipse looks like that's centered at the origin. Now we know that this distance right here is 15, and we know that we usually take a square root of the number under y squared to figure out how far we move up and down. So if we square 15, which is 225, that tells us what number goes under the y squared. Here's the tricky part, everyone. This distance all the way across is 20, but we only want half of that, 10, and we want to square that number and put it under the x squared, so that's going to be 100. A lot of people think you have to square the 20, but remember the 20 is all the way across, we only want to square the number that's halfway across. So this equation right here is actually the equation for our ellipse, but we're just concerned about the top half of it. Now let's talk about our truck, everyone. Our truck is 12 feet wide, and our truck driver, she's awesome. She can drive right down the middle. So what's going to happen is it's going to be sticking over 6 feet on each side. 6 feet there, and 6 feet there on each side. So really what we're curious about is how tall the tunnel is 6 feet from center. Or, another way of saying that is, what is the y value when the x value is 6? Which means we plug a 6 in for x, and then we solve the equation for y. So I'm going to plug a 6 into my equation for x. So it's going to be 6 squared over 100 plus y squared over 225 equals 1. 6 squared is 36, so we get 36 over 100 plus y squared over 225 equals 1. We want to solve this for y squared, so we're going to subtract 36 over 100 from both sides. So we get y squared over 225 equals 1 minus 36 over 100. I want to combine the 1 and the 36 over 100, and remember 1 can be written as anything over itself. So 1 is actually the same as 100 over 100, so I can write that as 100 over 100 minus 36 over 100, which is going to be 64 over 100. Now I'm going to multiply both sides by 225. And then I'm going to take the square root of both sides. And normally when you take the square root of both sides, you do need to put in a plus minus when you apply the square root property. But in this case, we don't need to because we're only concerned about the top half of the ellipse. So when I do y equals the square root, 225, 64 over 100, I do not need to worry about the plus minus. Okay, you could use a calculator for this, but you could also observe the square root of 225 is 15, the square root of 64 is 8, and the square root of 100 is 10. So this is really the same thing as 15 times 8 over 10, or 120 over 10, or 12. What does that 12 mean? That 12, everyone, is the height of the tunnel 6 feet off center. It actually also corresponds directly to the ordered pair, 6, 12. So when someone asks me how tall can this truck be and still make it through, I would say, well, the tunnel is 12 feet tall, 6 feet from center. So therefore, the truck can be just barely 12 feet tall and just kind of squeak on through. So our final answer to this question is the truck can be 12 feet tall, and it's not always the same as the width, everyone. I know our truck was also 12 feet wide. That's not always the same. It's a coincidence for this problem. The truck can be 12 feet tall and kind of slide through. Barely. All right, that's it. I hope that helped. Thanks for watching.